And Brett Dolan, resident play-by-play man from Touchdown Radio, joining us here on Halftime. And, of course, Razorback Sports Network and Perfect Game and MLB Network. And usually, Brett, I would ask you, where in the world are you? But you're right in front of me right here at the ESPN Experience at Walmart in Fayetteville on Mall Avenue. So I know where you are.
I'm here. It's good to be here. I appreciate the odds, as you guys were describing whether or not I would get here. I was actually in my car when I turned it on, and I heard Phil say, will Brett be able to find Mall Avenue, the first words. Now, they decided to work on the stoplights on two major intersections, which slowed me down a bit, and the one that's working, it's working. It's not changing.
I just thought that maybe is what you called your golf ball. So
could be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were important, Brett, you would have a police escort here for this segment anyway.
Picked up the pace a little bit. I got some cardio in, jogging in from the parking lot just to make sure I'm here.
So Brett is on the call for Arkansas Ole Miss on Touchdown Radio this weekend. I have a sense there may be more yards in the first 20 minutes than there were in the entire Cy-Hawk game that you called last week, which I guess you expected was defensive anyway, but how'd that game go?
Well, yes, it was what we expected. Lower scoring. Thought Iowa had a chance to win at the end. A little tip ball did not help, and a 54-yard field goal pushed the Cyclones to a win. So I'm with you. I think that this could be a real high-scoring game, which will be the counterweight to a 16-13 game. And, I'm just going back and looking at some of these 51-50 and some of these scores we've seen, and not one, not two, but three-ish games that have been like that over the last decade plus. I'm not so sure we couldn't have another one.
Go ahead.
Iowa grad, Iowa fan. You have to call the game down the middle. How much did you have to fake it on that last play with Iowa State winning?
The problem is I got people on my shoulders that are there, like, ready for me to do anything that might be pro-Iowa. So even when I'm giving it a little bit of juice for the Cyclones, they're mocking me and they're having fun with me. And it was not easy. I mean, I had a great weekend back home, but I would tell you what, I don't need to do that game again.
Is Oklahoma for real? Should I buy in? I think every one of their SEC opponents are ranked in the top 25 going forward.
The running game concerns me. I think that would have to be an issue. Mateer makes a lot of good plays. He makes a couple that'll probably leave you scratching your head just a bit. I think they're in a good tier. I don't think they're in that elite tier right now, Matt. And, there's a handful of teams that aren't leaving that elite tier in the SEC, and they're trying to get there. They might be in the next rung, but I think they're going to beat some people.
Tell me, because I'm a Josh Heupel fan, probably more than others when it comes to calling an offensive game plan. But you're giving me Lane Kiffin and Bobby Petrino this weekend, right? Are there two? Can you just tell? I mean, that's top tier, right, when it comes to offensive play calling in the SEC?
It's pretty good because there's no give. I mean, the one thing about Lane Kiffin, we had a game, I think it was either a year or 2 years ago when they hosted Georgia Tech, and they were leading by 15 points with about 5 minutes to go. Now, where I come from in the Big Ten, you're thinking, give me 3 first downs, and I'm just about going to run this out. And I turned to my analyst and I said, that's not how Lane operates. He's going to throw and I didn't get it out of my mouth. And he throws a 60-yard touchdown pass. His defense is back on the field. So this pedal to the metal. The one thing about Bobby, I think this year he's got good skill position players. Lane maybe doesn't have Jackson Dart and others, but he's got good players. So I think the combination of interesting and fun play callers and good special skilled players makes this a real fun fight.
Is it as simple? So Coach Pittman said which team runs the ball better is going to win this game. And this Arkansas offensive line, to me, the eye test first couple games, way better than last year. Is it as simple as Arkansas's offensive line versus Ole Miss's defensive line?
Well, I think to me a couple of things stand out, and that's part of it. But I think can Arkansas break a couple of big plays against a good defense? Now, though, when it gets to talking about line, last year this Ole Miss defense was probably as good as it would come.
They sacked Arkansas 8 times last year.
Well, they had 50-plus for the season. Yeah. They had their tackles for a loss were incredible. They were the number 2 scoring defense. They were the number 2 total defense. They lose a lot of players. They have some talent. The one thing watching that Kentucky game is Kentucky is not a good offensive team. They ran for about 4.6 yards per carry against Ole Miss. If Arkansas can run for 4.5, 5 yards a carry, I don't see them losing this game.
I could see, though, that Ole Miss was game planning differently for Kentucky because they're a different style team. And you're okay with running into the line of scrimmage, a little bit more often than I think you would here in this game just because even Ole Miss is probably at least to expect the Hogs are going to score some points against them. This is a dangerous offense.
Right. And I think we have a better idea where Arkansas's offense is at. I still don't know if I'm completely on board, only in the sense we've seen Talon and others in Washington and Omega Blake just running by people. Can they run by some SEC players? I think they can, but clearly they were out racing or just outclassing Arkansas State and A&M in that first game. It's a different weight class, so to speak. I think it translates. I think it carries over. If it does, though, the infrastructure is set up for Arkansas to take another step forward. And I don't mean just in the rankings. I mean winning a game on the road against a 9-win-ish team, a 10-win team. The infrastructure is there. If they can get the good quarterback play, if the offensive line works, if they can run the ball, I think they've got a good chance.
I just look at 3 teams on the schedule that Arkansas absolutely has to beat. And maybe in terms of just showing that your program's better and not just the context of this season. But it's the M schools, and you always talk about this. Arkansas should be a better football program than Mississippi State, and they are right now. Should be a better football program than Missouri, but they're not. Should be at least even, if not better, than Ole Miss. Historically, they have been, and right now Ole Miss is ahead. And then add on all the transfers that they've gotten over to that program, in which, like Lane was talking on the teleconference yesterday, I don't know if he was almost like patting Arkansas on the head the way he said it. Yeah, when we get some guys from certain programs, we can tell that they're really coached well, so we appreciate that. Oh, thanks, Coach. Really appreciated that.
And yet Kudus hasn't played well. He had a holding penalty that negated a touchdown, and I don't know if he's still working his way back off some injuries. I'm with you. Missouri's program has been on the rise. Ole Miss has been consistent. I think for Lane this year, this establishes whether this is a legitimate top 15 program every year. You lose the caliber of play, a quarterback who set every record in their program's history. If you can continue to win, losing all of that, your program's in a pretty good place. And I know they feel like they should win this game. There were a couple of people in my orbit from Ole Miss that, a month ago, 2 months ago, they were more concerned with one of their non-conference games than they were this one. Mm-hmm. And when you win with 60-some points last year, in your mind, you've chalked this up as a win. Now, can Arkansas deliver a couple of early punches to take away some of that confidence? Can they instill a little bit of doubt? But I bet you if you pulled the Rebels a month ago, they were already putting W in their mind mentally for this game.
I agree with you. I think a lot of people outside of the state of Arkansas aren't giving Arkansas a chance. You brought up quarterbacks. What do you know about the backup quarterback, if he's going to play? Is Austin Simmons that healthy? He won 2 back-to-back. Was it Division II national championship?
Starter in one of them.
So he's a winner, had a 1,000-yard rushing season at that level. Advantage Arkansas, or the fact is that there's something unknown about it if the backup quarterback
No, I
in?
think it's advantage Arkansas, and I think in a big way. There were times when Simmons went down, they went to running the Wildcat at the end of that Kentucky game. To me, that tells me that, they just want to get first downs. They're not concerned about passing. They don't know if they can pass. I think it's clearly advantage Arkansas if they do not have the ability for Simmons to play. Now, Lane said he was ready to go back in and play even at the end of the Kentucky game. We'll see. This kid's fascinating, though, in Simmons. I mean, he reclassified from 23 to 25, 19 years old. He's already graduated. He's pursuing a master's baseball player.
Yeah.
I mean, 19 years old to have your degree, to come into college 2 years early to play football. There's a lot that I'm just curious to see how his career trajectory takes place. He had a couple of bad picks that weren't great in that game earlier this year. I think it was Georgia State. But obviously he's been waiting behind Jackson Dart. He's been waiting for his chance. If he plays, he's healthy. That gives them a tremendous chance to win. If he's hobbled, if he doesn't play, I do think that's advantage Arkansas.
Well, life wasn't always the smoothest for Doogie Howser, MD, either. He's got a little bit of Doogie Howser in it. What is it with Ole Miss and Touchdown Radio? I would think that Gino Torretta is the owner of Touchdown Radio for Heisman-winning quarterback at Miami. You got Miami on the schedule twice. You got Ole Miss on the schedule 3 times, including this game, LSU, and then going to Georgia. I don't know if that means Gino's got some expectations for the Rebels.
He might. I know I'm already kind of looking at that LSU game. I think that's going to be epic, especially if Ole Miss wins. And then it's always fun to go to Georgia because they're one of those teams, again, that doesn't change in that tier that they're in. One of the top 3 in the conference or top 8 or 9 in the country. So I know we always enjoy going to the Grove. I like night games there. I think it's even more special, much like going to LSU when you have a night game. I just think it feels a little bit different from the fans aspect inside the stadium. But this was probably one of those games, again, 2 months ago, you thought, well, it'll be interesting, it'll be okay. I think it's going to be one of the better ones, at least from an entertainment value, in the country this weekend.
Mike Elko, Texas A&M Aggies headed to South Bend. The Fighting Irish freshman quarterback making his second start. Everybody I talked to is not giving A&M a chance. Are you giving A&M a chance, or is Notre Dame just that good of a team?
I'm giving them a chance. I think they could win. If Notre Dame loses this game, even with this expanded playoff, I don't see the path back because the caliber of teams on their schedule doesn't give them an opportunity.
I think they'd have to run the shoot if they lose.
I do too. I think you're right. It just has that feel that they're not going to be able to get enough quality wins. I would still pick Notre Dame. I do give A&M some credit, or at least an opportunity. Marcel Reed really didn't play in that game last year. It was Wigman who was the quarterback then. So, the fun part about the window we're in, that's a night game. LSU's a night game. Arkansas, Ole Miss, a night game. So if you're sitting on your couch and you're flipping around, or you got multiple TVs, you've got some great options.
Look at all the notes here, man.
I know. I was like, he's prepared. But we talked to him. We can ask him anything.
These are like real handwritten
I have
guys.
handwritten
Can
notes.
ask him anything.
You're going behind the curtain, so to speak. My Tuesdays and Wednesdays, even Thursdays, are not pretty. I had a volleyball game Tuesday, so I'm behind. I have to compile all of this into some charts and notes, and it's not always pretty how I make the sausage.
Does anybody? Is there a more fitting name for an offensive tackle than Diego Pounds, the left tackle for Ole Miss?
I like that. That's a good one.
He's the second heaviest player on their offense.
I mean, it's not as good as the nickname Judas Kudus, but nonetheless, Diego Pounds is fun.
I kind of feel for Kudus a little bit with all of this, but he had to expect it would happen. I mean, he knew he was transferring to.
At least he's not coming back to Fayetteville. At least he gets Arkansas at home. What do we talk about? Joe Flacco finally going back to Baltimore to play. I guess there's another SEC game I want to ask you about. Florida LSU, and maybe I shouldn't ask you about it, but is that coach there at Florida, does he make it through this little stretch? What if Florida wins? What if they knock? I mean, that would be probably the biggest upset of the year. Would that be enough just to kind of ride the ship if they go down to Death Valley and beat LSU?
It would certainly help. But I'm with you, Matt. I think what we did last year is we assumed that Florida was done, and they had a nice finish to their season. Sam talks about this every year. Arkansas wins the national championship for the hardest schedule at the beginning of the year. When you look at Florida's schedule, find me a couple of easy wins. I think they play 3 top 8 teams in a row. I don't know how, even if you are an above-average team, if you would be an 8 to 9 win team in the ACC.
You're right. LSU, Miami, Texas A&M.
I mean,
that's their next 4 games.
With those 4 games in a row? And, you always talk about going week to week. I don't know how you could do anything but rally the troops and try and focus on one game at a time, because you can't look ahead with that schedule. The one thing I noticed about Florida, Lagway, I think he's talented. He made a lot of mistakes. And I don't know, Matt, if this comes from not being on the practice field, not getting some spring practice, missing open receivers, trying for deep balls, forcing balls, trying to make a play. And when you do that, not only are you not getting first downs or long drives, you're playing into punts and turnovers and interceptions. He can't do that against some of these teams, or they will not win.
Grade me Arch Manning. I think we've been pretty down to earth so far the entire season. Everybody kind of got above themselves or ahead of themselves, I think. I think Arch is fine. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's playing on a very talented team. Is he a Heisman Trophy winner? No. But what are your thoughts? Kind of give me your grade on Arch Manning so far.
For the time being, I'm still going to say he's fine. I have no issues. I think at the end of the year, his numbers are going to be good, in part because he's got a good line. He's got a good team. I think the guy's got a good skill set. I think Ohio State's defense and Matt Patricia are going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of guys. Now, they had all offseason to prepare for that. It didn't go well. But I think he's going to be fine. I don't have any issues with Arch right now.
So you've printed all the paper that you have. If you need any more supplies for the office, because obviously you got a lot to write with all these games coming up here at Walmart, Brett. I mean, you can do this like a 2-for-1. You didn't just come here to do radio, right?
Well, no, but I had to see your set. I mean, you've been talking about this for 2 weeks.
This thing's pretty cool.
You guys have taken a nice TV set and you've muddied it up with your radio ways, with your Doritos.
That's true.
And your clipboards and your yellow tablets. But
I'd never even thought about that. You know, one thing you never see on SportsCenter is a cluttered desk.
Yes, or a yellow notepad.
Well, you'll see they'll have the paperweights when they're outside. I guess it's not SportsCenter; it's more
like,
of the pregame show. But then you'll see the wind going.
But it doesn't ever look like. Well, it doesn't ever look like my backpack threw up on the table, which is what it looks
like
here.
Bomb Walker for a midweek game when Phil's racing from a show to come.
All we now need is Bubba's burger on the wall
and a baseball bat.
Dead fly in a sarcophagus.
I didn't even see your lunch over here, and the Pringles can, and the duct tape, and the extra water.
I got to hide just a little bit. See, this is utter proof, Brett. You know this for a fact because you know me well enough. I am not. I am radio through and through. I do not belong on television.
You're a radio guy. There's no doubt.
Because I'm just messy enough. Brett, appreciate you hustling over here. I guess I'll see you on your way out through the checkout. Okay.
That's right. And I'll see you Saturday in Oxford.
Looking forward to it. What time you guys on the air?
5 minutes before kickoff. It's the beautiful thing. There is no pregame show. Phil wouldn't like it.
Quickest pregame. I'll be doing 3 hours of pregame while you get to do 5 minutes.
The only thing that's quicker than our pregame is our postgame when we're racing to the car to beat the traffic.
Yeah, the postgame show on Touchdown Radio is final score, Arkansas 40, Ole Miss 38.
You hear the elevator ding.
Yeah, you do. We're the coaches, then Touchdown Radio, going down the elevator after a game.
Yeah, you beat the coaches. They actually get down there before the coaches do.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, H-O-G-S, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's where bettors win together because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Got a little jingle